Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a fuel injector on this 1999 Pontiac Grand Am. It has the 3.4 liter V6. Procedure is the same for most GM cars with this 3.4 liter V6.
The tools you'll need is a 10mm and 13mm socket and ratchet, a flat blade screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of pliers, a drip pan, a funnel with a screen or filter, a vacuum, a pry bar, and some white grease.
Remove the spark plug wires at the front of your engine. There's 2, 4, and 6. Okay, you need to make sure that you plug them in the right order. Again, the front one closest to the passenger side is 2, then the middle one's 4, and the last one's 6. If you need, put some tape around them and mark them so you put them back on correctly. And to get them off, you basically want to pull and twist at the same time, and they'll come free.
Now you just want to disconnect those spark plug wires. There's a clip up there. You just want to pull that off. And then you just want to remove that hose from the top and that hose as well. And on this clip right here, you'll see there's a 10mm bolt. Just go ahead and remove that. Okay, now what you want to do is loosen up the clamp on the air intake hose. So using a flat blade screwdriver, just loosen up the bolts on those 2 clamps. And with those loosened up, you can pull the hose off. You're just going to want to pull that back and away. And now disconnect the hose connected to the top of that and the harness on the side and pull it free and away. Now as you can see right here, there's 2 13mm bolts, one up at the top corner and one diagonally across from it, and you just want to go ahead and remove those. Okay, next what you want to do is remove the bolts that secure the coil pack. There's actually different size bolts. The top 2 are 10mm and the bottom 2 on the back there are 13mm. You just want to go ahead and remove those. Using a pair of pliers, you just want to grip that clip and slide it back on the hose. And then you just want to use a flat blade screwdriver to pry that hose off. Now right here, there is 2 7mm bolts. You just want to go ahead and remove those. Now with those bolts removed, you can just disconnect the harness on the bottom and pull that up and out, and then using a flat blade screwdriver, just pry that hose off. Here. Now on either side of the EGR, you can see that there's 2 10mm bolts. Just want to go ahead and remove those. Now what you want to do is remove this upper intake plenum. And what you're going to need is a 10mm socket to remove the 10mm bolts, and then there's one 13mm nut right there. And you just want to go ahead and remove all those. Now you just want to remove this 10mm bolt right here. Now you just want to remove the cap on your radiator overflow bottle. And then you want to take a drip pan and slide it underneath the engine. Right underneath these hoses right here. Just want to take some pliers, push those clamps, slide them back on the hose. And then we're going to take a flat blade screwdriver and we're just going to pry that hose back and off. And it's important to disconnect these hoses. You're going to see a lot of coolant comes out, that's why the drip pan's under there. And we actually leave the screwdriver in there to help drain all this coolant. However, there is an easier way to drain this coolant. In our case, this is how we had to do it, and you can do it this way. But what you should do to drain your coolant quicker, as you can see, there's actually a bolt right there. And you just want to loosen that up and drain the coolant that way. Ours is actually broken, so we didn't have a choice. But once the coolant's pretty much drained out, you still want to make sure those hoses are pried off. And then you can just pull that hose free and that hose free. Next thing you want to do is just lift this up. And we can just set that aside. And then you want to just remove these gaskets. Our new kit comes with new ones, so we won't be needing those. And you just want to disconnect this connector.
10mm.
Okay, and right here you can see that there's two 10mm bolts. You want to go ahead and remove those. Now what you want to do is you want to just vacuum out that top of the engine there. Get all the dirt and stuff that builds up in there. Now what you want to do is, using a pry bar, just pry up carefully. And you just want to pry the fuel injectors up and out. Once you've pried them enough, you should be able to just lift them out. Now with the fuel rail up, you want to just pull, there's a little metal clip up above the fuel injector, pull that out. And then just move the fuel injector back and forth. And pull it free. And there's actually, the O-ring stayed up inside there, so just using a small flat blade screwdriver, if this happens, you just want to pull that O-ring back out and put it back onto the fuel injector. And then you can push your new fuel injector up in there, and you want to replace that clip. Now he's just putting a little white grease around the edges of each fuel injector. And you can now put your fuel injector leads back into place. They are numbered, just put them in order. It does have the number to match up above each fuel injector. Once you have the leads in place, you can line up those fuel injectors and push them down into place. You want to just replace these two bolts right here. Now you want to connect the lead right here in your alternator and this lead down here. Now you want to take your new gaskets from that gasket pack from 1A Auto and just put them here into place. There's one for each side. Now down here on this tube, you just want to scrape off the old O-ring. Just kind of clean that up a little bit. And in your gasket pack, there's a new O-ring. And you just want to put that into place. and push that line into place. Now you just want to replace the nut down by that line you just plugged back in. And there's actually another one right below it, and you want to replace that one as well. I'm going to take this bracket that's in that gasket set from 1A Auto, take your upper intake plenum, and you want to just line it up. Make sure this harness goes up through that hole in the back on your right there, and then just put that plenum into place. You want to just replace all the bolts that go along this. Make sure that if there's a bracket that goes in that spot, you put the bolt down through the bracket, like right here. In this bracket, you want to make sure that the harness goes underneath it. And you want to just take this, plug it in right next to that harness, and then plug the other end up here. And then take this, plug that lead into it, and set that down into that bracket. And you want to just tighten those bolts. And you want to just replace your coil pack bolts to secure the coil pack back into place. Just tighten those up real quick. Okay, you want to just put that hose back into place, take the clamp, using pliers, slide it forward, and it locks into place. You want to push this hose back into place. Same thing with this one. Then you want to replace the two bolts back down underneath the coil pack. You want to just reach down there using a flashlight to see where the holes are and put those back. Do it by hand first and then tighten them up. And you want to bolt your throttle body back into place. And you want to replace that nut on the bottom corner of the throttle body. And just replace the bolts up above the throttle body and tighten them. Okay, take this hose here, push it back, and then slide it down into place. And then you want to take your pair of pliers and push that clamp together and slide that forward. And then you want to take this hose, and you can see using a flat blade screwdriver, he's just positioning the hose onto that into place there, and it just slides down into place. And again, take pliers, push the clamp forward, and replace that bolt and tighten it. Now before putting your EGR on, put the new gasket from that gasket pack into place, and then line up your EGR, put that into place, and replace the bolt on either side. Now what you want to do is we're going to put the air intake hose back in, so you want to use a Phillips screwdriver to loosen up those bolts, pull the intake cover up back, put the hose into place, and then slide that cover forward until you can snap it down into place. Just want to tighten up those Phillips screws, get a flat blade screwdriver, and tighten up the bolts on the clamps. Just take this connector, plug it back in, And then you want to take these hoses, put them into this clip, and right down here you can see there's a hole, and over here there's another hole. You want to take this and fit that down in behind and into the hole there, and wrap it around and plug it into the hole at the top of that air intake hose. Then you want to take your EGR connector and plug that back in. Now you can plug in your spark plug wires. You just want to clip that clip back on right there, and then push those wires down into place. Now, using a funnel with a screen or a filter, just pour that coolant that came out earlier back into your radiator overflow bottle, and you're all set.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.